Hello team, welcome back. In this video and the next few, I want to start talking about routing inside of our apps, inside of our web pages. For the longest time, you click a link and it would take you to a new page. Nowadays, we have something called static site generation, which kind of takes us back to that, right? Where we are generating individual pages for everything. We're going to review that in a couple of videos' time. Then we have server-side rendering, where all of the compiling of HTML happens on the server, and then we just send that HTML down the line. It looks like a new page, but technically not so much, right? We're going to take a look at that too. In this video, I want to look at client-side routing. And client-side routing is kind of what it's been like for the last 15-ish years, right? Where everything happens in the browser. So we ship all of the code, and then we might send requests to an API, get that information back, and make very subtle changes or very, very big changes to the page. But we aren't actually moving to new pages. We're just updating the information in the page and then updating the URL as well, right? So that's something that we have called SPAs, or single page applications. And that is what we're going to look at today. Okay. So lots of interesting stuff coming in this video and future videos, and we are going to get into it. Now, for this example, I have this website, and this is something that I've pulled down from Frontend Mentor. It's one of their advanced challenges. So getting a bit of a workout there. And we have some interesting stuff like dark mode. We can switch it. We have the search. We have the drop down, right? But again, the only thing that I want to focus on today is just navigating the site. So you click a link and it takes you to a page. You click back and it takes you back to the main page, right? And you can do this with any of these. So you can jump around and do stuff, right? And it will take that, and you can see that the URL is being updated, right? When we click back, the URL is updated again, right? The whole thing is working in that SPA format, okay? So this is what we're doing. If you want to follow along, you can download the resources. I'm going to tell you right now that the resources are pretty sparse on this one, okay? So if we go to our code right over here, you're going to notice that there's not a lot of anything, okay? There's no index file, no starter stuff, right? Except for maybe this data.json file, okay? So if you wanted to build locally and use the data.json file, you absolutely can. But instead, they give you a link to the API, this REST countries API, which I have over here, okay? And this, so a quick update on this, I'm going to use this, okay? So we're going to explore sending requests pretty quick here. But this has been updated. So version 3.1, right? At the current time of this recording. The data in data.json is from an older version of the API. So if you're following along but using the data file, please be aware of that. Some of the property names are going to change on you, okay? Again, I'm going to use this one and we're going to get it done, okay? So with that in mind, we're back to the code, okay? And again, there's not a lot here. It's completely up to us to figure out how we want to do this, how we want everything to work, okay? Which means that we should probably install some stuff, okay? We're going to be doing client-side routing, which means that we are going to need JavaScript, which probably means that we're going to need some way of writing that JavaScript, okay? So let's do that right here. I'm going to npm init, which is going to generate my package.json file. And then while I'm here, I'm also going to install as a dev dependency a couple things. The first one is going to be Vite, and the second one is going to be Vite.js / plugin-react, if I remember correctly. Just like that, it's going to go through the process, and usually it's just a touch faster than that. So kind of had to wait for it, but it's installed. Now, if you are looking at this and typing it out yourself, please be aware that Vite does not have JS, but at Vite does have JS. So it's at vite.js/plugin-react. I've made that mistake, and you will see a bunch of errors if you mistype. Okay. We aren't done in here. We need one more. So let's go install React, React DOM, and React Router. Okay. Today I am using React, so I'm going to totally get into that. A lot of what we're doing, if you're using something like Vue or a different framework or library, and you're doing client-side routing, okay? Again, we're only focusing on client-side routing today. But if you're using a client-side routing package, no matter which library you use, the end result is going to be very similar. So when we get into the pros and cons of it a little bit later, it doesn't really matter which library or package you use. It's all going to have the same benefits and pitfalls, okay? But, I mean, if you don't like React, if you absolutely hate React and you hate the fact that I'm doing this video with React, comment, let me know, okay? For now, React is where it's at, and that's what I'm going to do. So I've set up my package.json, I've installed a bunch of stuff, and we are good to go, okay? Back to the code, package.json. There is some stuff in here. It's stealing stuff from the README, and the README, it won't take the heading, but the first actual line of code is an image, which is kind of useless. So let's go and update that, okay? Useless for the package.json, not for the README. Sorry, just clarifying so that people don't get that wrong, okay? Frontend Mentor challenge, just like this. Excellent, okay? This main entry, not useful to us. Instead, we are going to replace it with two more, which is going to be private, set to true. This ensures that if you're doing commits, it's not going to complain that you're missing like GitHub information, okay? So private set to true. And which one was it? It was type. That's type. There it is, okay? And type is going to be module. By setting it to module, we can use imports instead of requires. So Vite prefers that. We're going to do that right from the start. Script tags. I don't want to type these out. These actually come directly from Vite's documentation. So I'm just going to paste them in, and they look like this, okay? We have dev. This is where we're going to mostly be working today. So dev is our hot module reloading and stuff like that. Lots of cool stuff. Later on, if we want to build it and publish it somewhere, then we'll use Vite build. And if we want to look at the build files locally, then they have this really cool preview command built in, which I think is really clever, okay? That way, if there's something breaking with your build, you can kind of debug it that way, okay? Because works on my machine isn't a solution, right? Moving down, we have these three properties here. If you want to go fill those in, you absolutely can. I'm just going to blast them away for now because they aren't useful to this demo, okay? In production work, you probably should have something there, but for the demo, they're just taking up space, so now they're gone, okay? And our dependencies, which stay the same. Again, you'll notice a few things. A newer version of React. I'm not sure that that's the most important part, but for this demo, I am using React Router 7, okay? And a lot of what I'm going to show, I don't think it necessarily depends on React Router 7, but try to stay same, okay? If you're watching this later in the future, it might be a newer version, which is also okay, okay? With this, we have some things that we need to set up, okay? Specifically, we need to tell Vite to compile React, okay? And that's what the plugin does with Vite. So over here, we are totally going to do that. That is going to be vite.config.js, okay? And inside of here, we are going to import a couple things from Vite, okay? That should be in quotes. That's my bad. This is going to be define config right at the bottom of my list. And then import React. This can be lowercase, okay? It doesn't have to be fancy. From at Vite.js plugin React, okay? We want both of these things. Right here, we export default. That's going to be our define config. And inside of here, we create an object. Now, this object only has one property for us. There are tons of options. If you're building out things like libraries or other kinds of projects, right? You can do lots of different stuff in Vite. So definitely worth your time to go and learn it. If you want me to explore that further, again, comment, let me know, okay? But for now, we only need one thing in here, and that is plugins. Plugins is plural, so it's going to be an array. And inside of there, we use React, which is a function. So we call React, okay? That is it for our config. That is all done. Next, we need an entry point. And Vite is kind of like some of these other newer tools where it prefers an index.html. Okay, so we're creating that right here. And this is just to hold the door open so that our app can display something, okay? The easiest way is just use an exclamation point, hit tab, and we get it done, okay? Changes to maybe countries or something useful. We need two things in here. The first one is our root element. This is the thing that React is going to attach to, okay? Generally speaking, it is a div with an ID of root. It could be main, it could be anything else. It just needs to be something that you target. And whatever you put in here is going to be blasted out. So just be aware of that, okay? It's going to go away. So if you put something like needs JavaScript, right? That's just going to go away. Be aware of that. But right here, actually, it's probably better to use the no script tag for that. But we need that, okay? Right here, we have script of type module, okay? Which Vite prefers. This is how Vite works, especially in dev mode, okay? And then we point at source/main.jsx. Notice that we are able to put the X in here, okay? In vanilla JavaScript, we wouldn't be able to do this, but Vite supports this. And in fact, Vite is going to change all of this in build mode. So it's going to move this script up into the head. It's going to update the URL to be whatever that compiled file is. It's going to add in any of our CSS, right? It's all going to do that for us, which is really, really powerful. But this is all we need for the index.html file, which means that now we need to create this main.jsx file, right? So up here, let's go and do it. It's going to be in source/main.jsx. Again, we're going to start with some imports. We're going to import React, capital R React on this one, from React. Do it right. There it is. And import React DOM. Again, these are all default exports, so if you want to change their names, you can. But traditionally, they will be like this. And my advice is don't rock the boat, because every other developer that comes behind you will wonder what you were thinking when you made those choices, okay? Or at least add really good comments, right? With those, we can do stuff, okay? So React DOM, and I completely missed something in here where we want create root, but there is no create root. Why is that? Well, I messed up my import, okay? So this is one of those weird ones where we go react-dom/client, okay? And now we should be able to see create root, okay? If you're not seeing create root in your autocomplete, it's probably because of this. And I've done that several times, even just trying to record this, okay? So be aware. This root element is the one that we specified over here. So it's an ID of root, which means that we can go document dot get element by ID. and that is root. Perfect. And then we render, okay? And render is JSX, okay? So right here we can go H1 of hello world, because that's kind of the law, right? Kind of the law. But what about this React, right? Well, if you use tools to create all this boilerplate for you, what you will see is React.strict mode, okay? And React.strict mode, it only really plays out in development, but it can be very useful. It helps you find memory leaks or things that are running away on you without properly showing you, okay? So it's going to do things like run your code twice, which means that console.logs you're going to see twice, stuff like that. And it does that specifically for that, to check for memory leaks and whatnot. Again, that doesn't show up in production. That's more for development. And because you see it everywhere, I'm going to put it here as well. Okay, it's just a good practice to have it there. And there we are. That's a whole lot of boilerplate. So let's try running it. Right over here, we can clear this out. We can go npm run dev. It's going to spin up. We can open this and we get hello world. We're winning, right? We haven't done any sort of routing, but it's there, right? We're starting to see stuff. So hello world is here. We should probably start adding some components, okay? So in source, I'm going to create a root component. This is the great granddaddy of all the components, and you will see this in most setups, okay? So this is not anything special. We usually call it capital A app.jsx, okay? And inside of here, we have a function, usually with the same name. Whoops, type it right. Return right here. And we can, again, do an H1 just to hold the door open and call it hello from app, okay? And then the last thing we need to do is export default app, okay? We're going to use similar code a couple more times, but let's go add this in. So right here, I'm going to go app. Now notice that my autocomplete tries to find the path, and if I hit tab on this, it should import for me. If it doesn't import for you, you'll have to type it manually, but you will need this import, okay? Otherwise it won't work. And there we go, we save it, we go back, of course, we get there, okay? We need a couple more things in here. So new file, this is going to be index.jsx. Paste it in. I'm going to use multiple cursors to quickly change this to index, save it. A new one right under here. This is going to be details.jsx. Just like this. Pasting, multiple cursors, details. Excellent. Okay. These two files, index and details, are going to be the files that we route to. So when we go to our index route, we are going to see hello from index. And when we go to our details, one of our country pages, we're going to see the details page. And we will update these in pretty good time. But right now, these are the two pages that we have. Again, if you've been playing along, this is probably a good place to commit. Probably should have committed a little bit earlier too, but here I am, okay? At this point, it is time to start creating our routes, okay? So let's create a really basic router. I no longer need main or Vite or package. Just closing it up to what we need, and we're starting in app, okay? Could we have put this in main.jsx? Yes, traditionally we don't do that though, because main is specific to attaching to the DOM, okay? And app is where we write our logic, okay? So right up here, importing a couple things again. So right here, I need from React router, and what do I need? Create browser router, yes, and capital R router provider. Okay, so React Router is using context, which means that it has its own provider, and we're going to use that too. So inside of here, we can replace this with router provider, and we're going to supply a router. Where does that router come from? Well, that's what create browser router is for, okay? So right here, we can go const router equals create browser router, and we pass it not an object, but an array, okay? The array is going to be all of our different routes, and we can nest some of these routes. So we can have nested stuff. We can do layouts, right? But for now, let's just do it really, really basic, okay? So it's an object, and we have a path. That path is going to be, well, our root route, right? It's going to be slash right at the bottom. And then we attach a component. Notice that component is capitalized here. It kind of hints at the fact that we need index. Now, hopefully, when you type index, it imports for you, okay? Again, if it doesn't, you need to do that. There's just no way around it, okay? We can do the same right here. So path, this one is going to be /:ID, okay? The colon tells us that this information is variable. So later on, we are going to use ID to get that information out. It could be CA or UK or CN or one of these other countries, okay? So that's going to allow us to capture that and then use it, okay? Again, component, spell it right. And this one is going to be capital D details right here, okay? Again, it should import. From here, we have our router. We can use it. Let's plug it into our provider, save it, and we get hello from index, okay? If we go and change the URL to be anything, it will be hello from details. We delete that. We get index. We pick something else right in here like this. We get details. Everything is working, okay? All we need to do is figure out how to load data and then start building our components, right? So we're already in really, really good shape, which means that we should probably add some data, okay? Let's go and do that. I'm going to do that to the index. So I'm going to switch back to index, okay? And right here, I add a loader, okay? And that loader is going to be a function that returns something, okay? Now that function is async, so we're going to set that up. And right below it, we want to start doing stuff. Now, this should be some sort of a fetch, okay? Just like this, we need to go figure out how to work that fetch, okay? Right over here, we go to restcountries.api. I've already highlighted it because I've done this before, but we want restcountries.com / the version number / all, okay? If we open a new tab and we paste that, we are going to get an error. This is expected because we have not added any fields. As part of this API, the creator, the maintainer, doesn't want people gathering all of the information because it costs a lot. Every month they're paying money for people to use this very free service. So probably worth supporting them a little bit, okay? If you can, or if you're using it professionally, definitely send some money their way. But for now, they have this fields thing, okay? And so right behind here, you add question mark fields, and you'll see that I've already done it. So it's trying to autocomplete for me, but question mark fields equals, and then the fields that you want, okay? So I can hit enter, and you'll see that now I have flags, I have name, I have CCA2, I have capital, region, population. There are some other ones. As an example, I could put CCA3 in here, okay? So again, pretty printing. CCA2 will be the 2-letter code for each country, and CCA3 will be the 3-letter country code. So if you're using those, if you're using one or the other, right, you might need that. But at this point, we are getting data. So we can copy this and paste it right here. Okay. Now, data is going to return an OK response. We want to check for that. So if not data.OK, OK, like this, then throw new error. And that can be something incredibly useful like, oops. Maybe write better error messages, but I'm just playing around right now. So this is okay for us. But in production work, better error messages, please. Please just do that. Return, right? So if we get past that, if everything is okay, then return data.json like this. That is a promise, so we need to await that as well, okay? And I completely forgot to await this, so let's go do that. Save it, and now we have this information, okay? Because we have this information, we should probably use it, which means that right here, we want to const countries equals use loader data. Again, that should import. And again, because we are using a context, we are going to use a hook to get at that information. It doesn't come through as props. It comes through the hook, okay? Countries right here, which means that now we can go countries map, country, and we are going to return. Now, I've made this mistake, so let's be sure that we get it right, okay? This is parentheses, not curly brackets, okay? Parentheses allow us to do JSX, which is what we're going to do in here, okay? So here's our H2, and inside of there, we're going to go country.name.common, which is exactly what it is over here. So name, common, and we get the name, okay? Just like that. Because we are iterating, we're looping over all of the countries, it is going to complain that we haven't included a key. So let's go and do that. That's going to be country.cca3, okay? Just to make sure. If you only included CCA2, then you should probably use that, okay? Back here to the countries page, refresh, and we get all of our countries, okay? Or at least all of our different locations. Some of these aren't recognized countries, so be careful if you're sharing this with someone that might get offended by that, okay? Be empathetic, stuff like that. Okay, I'm going to cut this out. I'm going to turn it into a link right here. This is going to go away. We're going to make this country.cca2, just like this. Paste it in, save it. Now it's a link. You can see I've already been clicking on some of these links. The browser recognizes that. But, right, we can click into Tuvalu. It takes us to details. This should actually be lowercase. We can fix that really fast by going dot to lowercase. Saving. This is going to break now. Let's go back, refresh it, and this one, okay? So we've done that before. Excellent. We have no way of getting back other than either deleting this. We should probably sort that out, okay? But before we sort that out, I want to clean some things up. So first, over here, I want to take this loader and move it out of here. I feel like it's better served by being near where it's going to be used. So you'll see this pattern a lot where we go export const loader equals all of our loader data, okay? So now that we have that, we can just go and use it. And because this data is only used for this page, again, it makes sense to keep it where it's going to be used, right? It makes for easier maintenance. And then we just go over here back to the app where it's currently breaking and import that. So that's going to be loader as index loader, okay? And I do this as because in a bit we're going to do the same for details, and you cannot have two of the same thing, right? So if I go loader and loader, things break. So rename it here, paste it down, save it, and everything works the same. The other thing that I want to talk about before we get deeper is what happens if I want to have the same header for each of these pages, or the same footer, or the same general wrapping content. Okay. So what we would do there is we would do something called nested routes and a layout. Okay. And that kind of looks like this. Let's go and add another one. Okay. Right here, I'm going to add path. Now this path is going to be, again, a slash. Okay. It's going to be our root path in this case. It could be anything. You'll see that in a second, how these all work, but we can do that. And then of course, component, and we want that to be layout. Now I've not added a layout, so we should probably do that. I'm going to go and copy and paste for the win. Okay. New file, capital L layout.jsx, paste it in, and right here, multiple cursors, layout. Excellent. We need to do one more thing before we can actually use this. And that is right below this, this hello from layout bit, we're going to add outlet. Okay. And hopefully it should import from a React router. Okay. This outlet kind of holds the door open. So when we use this, it'll say all of that other content, this is where it belongs. Okay. So we need that outlet. Okay. We're going to do that. And then back to our app, that is our layout, which hopefully will import right there. Okay. And then from here we go children. Okay. That children is another array. Okay. And inside of that array can be, well, both of these. Okay. So just like this. And now we get hello from layout, hello from index, and everything still kind of works. In fact, if I click into this one, right, now we get those two headings. So we can have our heading, our footer, all that good stuff, right? We can start to break it out into really reusable and easy to maintain chunks. Okay. Now, there's that. So because I have this path twice, I can actually shorten this. I can get rid of this one and say index of true. And that what that tells React Router is that this route here belongs to this path. Okay, so it's just a bit of a nicer shortcut, a little bit easier to read. Okay, so with that, everything is still working. We're still getting it, which is excellent. We should probably go do the details, right? So as a way of shortcutting this, I'm going to go and grab some code just to save us some time into details right at the bottom, pasting it in, right? And this is very similar to what we've already done. So we have the async, we have the fetch, we have the data okay, and we return the data, okay? The new part is this params. And params basically takes whatever is in the URL and gives it to us. So in this case, we get an ID. Now, where did this ID come from? Well, back in our app, we told it that we were going to use ID. Oh, a little shortcut here. We can actually get rid of the /2. Because it's a parent, it will add that /2 here. But, okay, jumping around, but we have this ID, okay? And whatever we called this, if I had called this, say, country, right? Then I would use country over in my other file, okay? For now, I didn't do that. I used ID, so I'm going to leave it there. Back to details. I get the ID. I could have destructured, maybe, okay? And then I use that ID inside of this, this fetch, okay? Then I kick it out the door, do the thing, and get it done. Now, before we add anything to our component, we should probably use that loader, right? So right up here in details, we go and get it. This is going to be loader again as details loader. Brilliant. Copy that, bringing it all down. Loader is this, okay? Excellent, okay? At this point, we are loading that data, which means that we should probably use it. Right underneath details, Oh, sorry. Before that, I should actually get that country. Okay, so country equals use loader data. Hopefully it should import for you. If it doesn't, again, you need to do that. Okay. This won't work the way that you think. And that's because for some strange reason, this API returns the country information inside of an array. Even though you're only getting one country, you're still getting an array, which is kind of weird. So my advice is to destructure that country off. And now we can do something with that. So here's a pre-tag. And inside of there, we're going to go json.stringify country null 2. Okay. The 2 is our indent. The null is for historical reasons. We save it, go back and give it a try. Vanuatu. Excellent. Okay. Again, still no way to go back. We should probably update that. So right underneath the H1, let's add a div, and inside of here is a link to /back. Saving it. Excellent. So now we can jump back. We can jump forward, right? We can start to see some of this information. And it is quite snappy. So what we're not seeing here is the idea that that loader has to get the data before it can load the page, okay? So it fetches the data, and then it says, oh, I have it? Okay, now I'm going to load the page. Again, very snappy, so we aren't seeing that today, but depending on your API, you might need a little extra. I think, if I remember correctly, React Router does give you a way to add a spinner or something like that, right? But for now, because it's so snappy, I'm just going to keep going with it, okay? So right here, we have a working system, okay? And it works quite well, except what is the problem, okay? Well, I'm going to bring up my dev tools, and I'm already on my network tab. I'm going to go back, okay? And you'll notice that it loads all this stuff. And if I hit refresh, it does load everything. We have the hot module reloading in here, and React and React DOM. Down here is React Router and all of the stuff that makes our site work, okay? Which is not a problem, except for the fact that when I click on one of these countries, I reload everything again. You probably saw a flash there, right? There's a flash, and it reloads everything again. So every single time, I am loading all of this data, okay? That's not a good experience. If every time we're reloading the same stuff, and notice it's not caching, right? I didn't put any cache control on here. So it is, in fact, getting all of that information every single time. Some of these things we don't need to reload again. We can leave React. We can leave React Router in memory and just reuse them, okay? So React Router does give us a way to do that. And it looks like this. We go back to the code, okay? And instead of this, we are going to import capital L link, okay? Spell it right. It's only 4 letters, not 15, okay? And then we can use that. So replacing our A tag with link, and the href becomes 2, right? So now we have this link to /, right? We save it. We go back to index where we use that. Again, same thing. We're going to import link just like this. This is link, whoops, spell it right, with an L. Change this to 2 and change the closing tag to closing link, okay? Now if we do this, again, when we first load, yes, we get everything. So if we hard refresh, we are going to get everything. But now, if I go to Belarus, right? Oh, weird. It should not have done that. What is it doing? Did I not save this? Link, link, link. That should have just worked. Why didn't it? Link to / and link to countries. Is it just doing something weird here? Okay. Oh, I see. I didn't clear the cache. Okay, so let's try it again. So I'm here and I get all of this information. I'm going to not clear the cache, but I'm going to clear the history. Okay, so now the history is empty, and I click it, and I only get TG for Togo. Okay, and then I click back, and I only get the data. So I'm not reloading every single time. I almost missed that, but I can go down to China. I only get the China data. I go back. Okay, so I'm only getting the data I need. I'm surgically changing it, not reloading everything, right? Only changing what actually needs to be changed, which is awesome. At least it could be, okay? And the catch to that is one more thing here, and it has to do with SEO. If you don't care about SEO, then you don't need to worry about this. But if I right click on here, and instead of inspect, I click on view page source. View page source is pretty much the exact code that we wrote in our index.html file. So you'll notice that it is an empty div, right? With our script tag here. It's a little bit different. It's got a bit of a hash on it for the reloading, but this is pretty much our code, right? And as such, if JavaScript is disabled, we get nothing, okay? And because of how this works, a lot of search engines might not pick up on your content. I think Google has gotten a little bit better about this, about waiting for the content to load, but sometimes, okay, so some search engines might not do that. So be aware that this is not great. If you're just doing a dashboard behind a sign up or behind a sign in, where you have to log in and do stuff, probably not an issue. But if you're doing a brochure site or some sort of a blog where search results matter, this could be a very real problem. So something to keep in mind. But with that, we have lots of stuff going on. Okay. Jersey right here. Cayman, we can jump around and do stuff. We can start to add our components. Okay. In fact, if I wanted to, I can grab some stuff. So I'm going to grab this behind the scenes. Not that, this one. Okay. So I can quickly go into my code right up here and inside of source. Why are you doing that? Come here. There we go. Paste. And I have some components. Okay. I've actually set them up as pages. So all of my components go into my pages, which means that if I go to index, instead of all of this, I can import index page from pages / main. Okay. And then I go and replace all of this right here with not index page. Come on, do it right. Just like so. And data of countries. Okay. Save it. It should look ugly. It kind of does because I have some extra stuff going on in here, but let's go to, I have app.css. So inside of here, I should import that really fast. Import /app.css. Save it. Things are changing. I have this information still. So I can go down to my layout, clear out the heading just like this, go to index, get rid of this too, save it. And now things are starting to look pretty shiny. Okay. Again, I can do the light and dark. I can do some searching, right? And it all just works. I haven't sorted it at all. I haven't done anything like that yet, but things are coming in. So to wrap it up, okay, we spent some time getting our router done, getting our router set up, okay? We set that up from scratch. So we had to generate a package.json file, And then from there, we imported just a handful of packages, React being one of them, Vite to run the show. We set up some config around Vite, and then we got into it by making sure that we had some components in here. Okay. And everything just kind of works. Like we are in this app.jsx file, and this is where all of our real work happens for routing. Okay. We imported that. We have a layout route in case we wanted headers and footers and stuff like that. We didn't really use that today, but I mean, we could have, right? We could have. In fact, I think I can comment this out and it still works. Okay. It absolutely does, right? And then from there, setting up our routes and getting our data, right? It's all just in here, and it all works pretty brilliantly. There are some downsides to it in terms of SEO and stuff like that. But again, if you're just playing around, it's very fast to do this. So I encourage you to give it a try. Tell me what you think. And yes, I do have more videos on routing coming for server side and for static site generation. Interesting stuff. So if you want to catch those, definitely subscribe. Otherwise, I will see you in the next one.